and welcome back to my channel. So today it is time for my November plan with me, which is going to be a little bit different than normal. I will not have the second angle just because I am trying to get this done before I go on vacation and I just don't have the time. So hopefully you guys will still be able to see everything that I'm doing. I'll do my best to make sure that my hands are as much out of the way as possible, just so you guys know this is only going to be one angle for the time-lapse part of the video. So let's get started. All right, first things up, let's take a look at October so far. So let me move this stuff out of the way. Oops. All right, so we have October. Let's see if I can find the front of my month, beginning of my month, as we might say. So I have my intro page here, which you guys will notice as I go through, I use my two fountain pens in the, so what was this? This is Copper Noir from Monteverde and Apache Sunset from Noodlers. I use them for my intro page, and then you will not see them anymore in the month because I eventually just went to black and gray. So go figure, it's just kind of the way it goes. So love this intro page still. I really liked coming back and looking at that. So I have my monthly log and my tasks. I have to say I was pleasantly surprised by how well the monthly log worked for me and how much I actually used it. So you'll notice that I have a couple of things in different colors. So for example, anything that's in this blue color is for work. So these were just the times that I was in work on those particular days, because as you can tell, they are not the same every single day. Also, like important information that came up. I have my vacation starts on Saturday, so that is this yellow color, and then I'm also traveling, which is this purple color. So I just kind of filled in that information. I also had things that I put in sort of at the end of the day that were in cursive. So I just used my normal gel pen that I use for everything else, and I just wrote in cursive things that were either scheduled or that happened at the end of the day. So for example, this is one that I wrote in ahead of time and I did it in cursive anyway. Some of the things that are scheduled, I do actually do, so typically I do appointments in block letters, right? So I have appointments here, and then things that happen after the fact are in cursive, except for the fact that I wanted the Bujo book release to be really pretty, so I did it in cursive anyway. So you can see that most days I have a little something that I add on to at the end of the day that just kind of talks about what I did that day or what have you. So I've been really enjoying this. I do still have my upcoming month just because I find it, for things that are not necessarily scheduled on my Calendex, but are things that I want to do during that month, I will put on here. So for example, I'm not going to schedule that I want to go to bar, but I really want to make an effort to go to bar in November because I missed a lot in October because of meetings and stuff. So I put it on here, but I haven't put it on my Calendex because it still is going to depend on my schedule whether or not I can go, if that makes sense. Then I've got my tasks. So I did abandon my kind of colored checkboxes, if you will. Let's see, where are they? So what I used to do over here, I just did normal checkboxes because that way it was easier for me to mark if I was partially done with something or completely done with something. And you'll notice I have a couple of things, well, I have a couple things done and I have a lot of things that aren't done yet. This month got a little bit busier than I expected, so when I go through and actually migrate my tasks for November, I'm going to go through and see if there's anything that is irrelevant at this point, or if there are things that I need to actually migrate for November. I probably won't get much done until the end of the month, just because, like I said, I'm going to be on vacation and I will be traveling the entire 2 weeks of my vacation. So it's going to be a little bit dicey in terms of actually getting these tasks done, but that's okay. We'll get there eventually. Then I have my reading. So this one is the same as it's been probably since the beginning. I've read 3 books so far this month and I'm working on a couple of others. I don't know if I will hit my goal of 6 books this month, but you know what? It kind of comes in waves, so we'll see how it goes. I've got my tracking. So this one I really simplified last month, or for this month. So I just have the AM and PM reflection, whether I've taken my allergy medication, and whether I've done my some lines a day. And you can see I've been very, very good about doing that. It helped that I only had 4 things that I had to track. I also have my steps tracking. So this graph, you'll see I have a couple of days that I filled in, but I haven't actually done the lines yet. I kind of wait until I have a few days and fill them in all at once. I will say that the key that I have up here, I used once and not again. And actually I have been stretching in the evenings a lot, but I just haven't been marking it. So that will definitely be a change in November. And then I have my skincare tracker. So because I still have some time left, I haven't done my monthly review. I'll end up probably posting a picture about this on Instagram, or maybe I'll just do a video about my skincare tracking setup so you guys can see, but for right now it's not actually filled in. You'll notice that I'm pretty good on the morning routine side of things. The night routine side of things, however, is a little bit spotty at times, and that's something that I would like to work on. This is actually going to be something that does change in November, which I will show you guys. And then I have my weeklies. So I did go back to the one-page weekly and dailies, and I have been really enjoying it. Not only because it allows me to actually do some hand lettering every day when I set up my daily, but also because it just has been less cluttered. I have just one task list. These are any appointments that come up or any tasks that I want to do on a specific day. Anything that I need to get done but I don't have a specific day for goes in here. And I have my 3 different categories. So I have work, social media, and personal. And you can see where I have kind of a preponderance of tasks. So I tend to have a lot of stuff in work and a number of things in personal, and then not very much in social media, which is normal. That's just kind of the way that things pan out during my week. I also have the upcoming week for any like appointments that come up, just to make sure that I don't forget them, and I know that that's going to come up when I'm planning my next week. And then a bunch of dailies. So I did kind of go crazy on this one, but after this first set, or this first page of dailies, I started doing them offset. And that just, after reading the bullet journal method, I wanted to play around more with white space. Now you'll see white space is relative, because I'm also, for October, I tend to go a little bit crazy with decorations and stuff, just because I love Halloween. So I do have a lot of decorations on here, but I also have a bit of white space, and I've kind of spaced things out so that they're not just one after another. And I like the way it looks. It seems to kind of clear things up, and I can really focus on that current day. I have collections, so I have some initial brain dump collections for 2 trips that I would like to do in 2019. I am literally still in the brain dump section. I have 2 things checked off for Seattle, but at some point I will go in and do a full travel spread if it actually comes to fruition, but for right now it's in the brain dump and research stage, so I just have collections for that. And I have started using tabs again, so I have a tab on here. What's my other tab? And I also have a tab on some goals that I want to work on as part of one of the thought exercises from the bullet journal method book. So pages that I don't look at all the time, but I don't want to have them get lost in older pages. I don't want to forget that they're there. Then I have my gratitude log, which because I started more or less at the beginning of the month, and I'm pretty good about doing it every day, but because I gave it 2 full spreads, I'm actually not sure if I'm going to finish it this month. I think if I don't, I'm just going to do some kind of a quote at the bottom just so that I can set up a new one for next month. But I do really like having my gratitude log again. I think it's a really nice practice, and I'm glad that reading the book kind of made me bring it back, since I haven't done it in a while. Then more weeklies and dailies. So you'll see this, I had a ton of tasks on here, and I actually did pretty well getting stuff done. I had a couple things that got migrated or scheduled, but overall I did pretty well. And then once again with the offset dailies. This one I didn't have a lot for Thursday because I was going to be at work pretty much all day, and I had a couple of open tasks from Wednesday. So I had a bunch of space down here, and I just decided to do a little bit of journaling, and then I was still able to fit in my entire, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on this next page and still have some extra room, extra white space that I quickly filled up with stickers. Then I have my travel spread, so for the trip that I'm actually going to be going on in a day, basically. So I have my pre-trip tasks, so all the things I need or want to get done before I leave. So you can see I've already started on some of these, and I'm working on doing the rest of them basically today, because tomorrow morning I leave. I think I have to get up tomorrow, so today is Friday. Tomorrow's Saturday. I have to get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I have to be on my train for 6. So basically this has to get done tonight or not at all. And then I also have started for my like pre-back to school tasks, so basically my post-trip tasks, and I have 2 categories right now that I will, I have a couple things for work that I know I'm not going to get done today, so I want to write those down already, but then the rest of this is going to be during the trip. I'm going to fill this in so I know what things I really want to focus on once I get back from my trip, so that's why this one's a little bit emptier. Then, and again, I have a tab, and you'll notice that for some of these, I try to match the color code. So for example, this is vacation plans. They're not actually trips yet because they're just ideas, whereas this is an actual trip. I didn't have a purple flag, so I just did a blue one. And I even used my, my color coding color for travel on the spreads. Like on all of the spreads, I used this gray and my color coding color just to kind of separate it from October, make it really visible, and then I can see at a glance like, oh yeah, this is a travel spread. So I do have this page tabbed because I have the pre-trip tasks that I need to work on. Okay, so then I've got my trip information, which I've just covered up our, some of our itinerary info, but basically we have 3 major parts of the trip. So I have the general weather, high and low for packing purposes. I have when we're getting there, when we're leaving, how we're getting there. And then I also have tried this new itinerary spread where basically I gave each day a block, and I didn't do it necessarily by week, but just to sort of block out when we're at night, for example, if we're sitting and we're talking about like, oh, we want to go here or whatever, I can kind of jot them down in here so I have a record. So I'm going to try it out. It's definitely different than how I've done my itinerary in previous trips, but it's also this trip we're moving around a lot more, so I wanted to have a way to sort of note all that down. So we'll see how it actually works. Then I have my packing list, which I have started filling out. I need to pack tonight, so some of this will get filled in. Yeah, this is basically just how I do my packing list. So I have important things that I need to bring, tech and paper, so basically devices and like bullet journal stuff. Outerwear, so I consider outerwear shoes, jackets, sweaters, scarves, like that kind of stuff. Then I've got toiletries and then clothing. And I also did a spread for things to do and eat in each of the 3 main places. You can tell I have a lot of food stuff and slightly less on the to-do list stuff because my mom is way more like into like all the stuff to do, and I'm more into the eat stuff. So I tend to look up all the stuff to eat and she tends to look up all the stuff to do. And because she isn't here yet, I don't yet have this information. So when my family gets here and we actually have a chance to chat about this, I will end up filling in this spread a bit more. And then back to dailies and weeklies. So this is actually this week. So you'll see I have the beginning of my week here. I've got a bunch of stuff that I've gotten done on my weekly tasks, which is awesome. And I've got yesterday and today. So I have one more spread that I've left for the weekend, so I can do Saturday and Sunday. I also have set up next week because I wanted to make sure I didn't forget how I wanted to do this. So because I'm going to be traveling and I'm not actually going to be working on stuff, I have the weekly section of my, like the days of the week section of my weekly on the left side here so that I know where we are, and then I can fill in things that we plan to do that day so I don't always have to be flipping back to my itinerary. And then I've immediately set up my first daily. And what I'm thinking of doing is if there are any sorts of tasks that come up, so like we need to rent a car or we need to buy a train ticket or whatever, I can throw them on here. But I also want to use my weeklies for these 2 weeks that I'm going to be traveling as a journaling page because I'm not planning on bringing my junk journal. I am going to bring my some lines a day just so that I can kind of keep up with that because I don't really want to rewrite 2 weeks worth of stuff. I'd rather just kind of do it in the morning, but I want to actually do a travel journal. And so rather than using this for tasks and then dailies, I'm just going to use this as a journaling section. And then if any tasks come up, I'll throw them on there. So I have basically each week takes about 2 spreads, but because I'm going to be journaling and I might have other collections that come up, so for example, because I'm not really using this for tasks, if I run out of room on my post-trip planning spread, I might need to do a brain dump or what have you. I've also included, I think, 3 spreads, yes, 3 spreads that I can either continue journaling or do collections or what have you before I set up November. So actually the last 3 days in October will go in November because it's, you know, three days in October, 4 days in November. I throw it into November. So I only need 1 more week in October, but I wanted to make sure I had enough space since I'm setting this up before I leave to actually fill things in if I needed them. So then I've just got my little sticky notes for November, and I did like tick marks for things that are log style just so I don't have to count those out. I can just directly do the numbers. So let's take a look in my R&D Bujo to see what I'm actually going to do for November. Okay, so in November, I've got my sticky note on my page. So I have my normal setup. I want to do it minimal. I think that we'll see how this goes. I might change my mind, but I'd like to do, since October was like tons of stickers and stuff, I want to do November more minimal. However, I don't want to have the same color just because in terms of my my color code and having it visually be separated month to month, I do want to actually have different colors. So I decided that I wanted to do these two colors. So I have, this one is the 026 and this one is 946. So just kind of fall sort of themes. I was thinking about doing brown, but I decided I didn't want to actually have brown. So I did kind of an orange theme, but it goes with brown because I have the Copper Noir in here, and I'm actually going to be getting a new ink. I ordered it from Goulet Pens, but it didn't actually show up before I left to come back to France in the summer, and so my parents are going to be bringing it for me. And so it is actually Noodler's Beaver, which if you guys saw from one of my other videos, my favorite animal is the beaver, and so when I saw that Noodler's actually had an ink that was named that, I had to get it. So that's going to be my ink for November. I just don't have it yet, so I'm going to be using Copper Noir in the meantime because they're in the same like kind of brown family. I also have pulled out Apache Sunset. I don't know if I'm going to use it, but it goes with my whole like fall leaf color scheme, so we'll see. You'll notice that I actually had labeled that I might do Ernest Hemingway, but I think I'm going to save it for December just because the color, like I feel like it's a little bit more December-y for me. So those are my colors. Then let's take a look at my setup. So I have my same intro pages. Normally I'm going to have a quote and then November 2018. I want to do this poem. It's a really, really nice poem. It's by Clyde Watson. I found it on Goodreads quotes, as I do for most of my quotes. And so I think what I'm going to do is actually just do it in fountain pen like I did last time. Because I'm going for that minimal kind of theme, I just am going to sort of do it in the center of the page, I think, which I should have marked that out, but I haven't done it yet, so you'll see me do it on camera. Then I'm going to keep the monthly log style. I like how it goes, or I liked how it worked this past month, so I'm going to try it again. I am going to have my tasks the same way that I did last month as well. Ditto reading, that one's not going to change. The change is going to come with my tracker. So what I've decided is the steps graph is interesting, but because of work, I tend to actually get enough exercise and I tend to leave my house, like it's been going pretty well, so I feel like I don't need to track that anymore. And I also feel like my skincare routine, I'm pretty good in the morning. Like you guys can see I might miss a day, but basically every single morning I do the same thing. I've got a routine down pat for that. So I basically want to combine my tracking and my skincare into one page. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, have I taken my medication? Have I done my morning reflection? Have I done my evening reflection? Have I done my some lines a day? And then at the end of tracking, I'm going to have one square for if I've done my morning skin routine or not, because it's basically the same. And then I'm going to have my evening skin routine as it is on my current skincare tracker, so the 9 spaces that I'm going to fill in. And I am going to have a key for my skincare routine off to one side, specifically for the evening stuff, but I'm going to just do all of the ones that I have. So I'm hoping that that will allow me to track the morning skincare routine, because I want to make sure if I'm still doing it, but I don't need to know exactly what I'm doing it since it is so stable. But still have the PM routine because I'm not entirely like on solid footing with that one, and then just kind of save space because I don't need a full spread, and then that way I only have one place that I'm looking for tracking every single day rather than having to flip back and forth between tracking and my skincare. And I'm going to take out steps because that information is no longer relevant. And then instead of, basically I'll have the same number of spreads for the month, but instead of having this one be skincare, it's going to be my gratitude one. And I found this cute little quote by Alphonse Carr. So it's "Rejoice because thorns have roses," and it's kind of a truncated. There's actually the front section, but I liked having the kind of a quote or a phrase up at the top of the page. So I'm going to do that again for November. I just picked a different one, and that's going to be my gratitude tracker. So that is what I'm planning on doing. I am going to go ahead and time lapse you guys, and I'll come back in the end and show you how everything's been set up. right, so that is my November setup. Let's take a look at how it all went. So the quote poem that I used is, "November comes and November goes with the last red berries and the first white snows, with night coming early and dawn coming late, and ice in the bucket and frost by the gate. The fires burn and the kettles sing, and earth sinks to rest until next spring." I just thought that was a really nice poem, and I really liked the look of having kind of a longer quote in fountain pen last month, so I decided to do it again. And you'll see I have some little tick marks. I didn't actually erase anything because I wanted to make really sure that everything was dry since I was using fountain pen this month. But I sort of centered it in the middle, and I have to say I like how that came out. On the other hand, I, once again, misjudged my spacing with a Tombow, and so I ended up just breaking November into this little like stair step thing. I didn't actually intend to do that. I intended to do it all here, but we just kind of ran with it. And then I just put 2018 up here to sort of use up a little bit more of the page. I don't hate it. It's not my favorite intro thing. I do wish that it looked a little bit nicer since I really do like how this came out, but honestly, like, it is what it is. I know it's November. We can move on. Then I've got my November monthly log and my tasks. So you'll see I did use both of these colors. Actually, for once, I used all 4 of the pens that I thought I was going to use. That does not happen very often. So I did do both of these pens, and I decided to use this as my main outline, and then I used the 946 to delineate my weeks, just to kind of have it look a little bit different. So I have the same thing as last month where I've got the month and then I've got December, and I will, work on filling this in once I get closer to the end of the month. I'll probably do similar to what I did last month, where certain things that I already know will go in my color code, appointments that come up will go in block letters and gel pen, and things that I put in kind of at the end of the day will go in cursive. Then I'll have my tasks, another one that I'm going to migrate once we get a little bit closer to the end of the month. Next up is reading. So I did, because my tail on my G was pretty big, I decided to just sort of do these one on top of the other instead of side by side, and I just have room for the list of books that I will read in November. Tracking is probably the biggest change. So I have a much larger tracker, but that is because I've made it into my skincare tracker and my actual tracker are now in one. So I decided to do things that were essentially in the morning minus my PM reflection, but that just kind of went with AM reflection, so I just did it in the same color. Things in the morning were basically an Apache sunset. Things that were in the evening / my evening skincare routine, that's the only thing that's in that color, were in copper noir, just so that I had them very clearly delineated, and then I just did the line down the center so that I have those 2 sections of the tracker, if you will, sort of separate in my mind. Otherwise, it looks the same as normal. I just have added in my key on this other side for my PM tracker, and I don't know if I'll do anything here. For now, I'm just gonna leave it white space and we'll see how it goes. Then I have my gratitude log. So I wanted to then make use of the space, and so I just kind of have this little separation here for thorns, but I think it looks okay. So just the rejoice because thorns have roses, and I couldn't fit the first name, so I just did the last name, Carr. And I'm going to fill it in the way that I did this past month. And again, if I end up having space at the bottom, I'll figure out at the end of the month what I'm going to actually do with that. But yeah, that is basically it. I have to say that the experiments that I started in October, so trying the monthly log and doing the dailies and the weeklies, I am going to keep doing in November. I am really excited to see, because I was just getting kind of annoyed having to flip back and forth to 2 different tracking pages. So I'm curious to see if this one tracker will work. And at some point, once I get my night routine a little bit more automatic, I would eventually like to go back to having fewer things to track, just because I think for me that is a good thing, and I'm sure there's going to be other things that I'd like to track, and I don't want to just have a tracker that keeps getting longer and longer, that takes more and more time to do. So I'm hoping that these changes will work out pretty well. We'll see how it goes. I do still have a week-ish left in October, so we'll see if there are things that I end up getting to fill out, and we'll see when it actually comes to the migration. So I will keep you guys posted, but I am really surprised and also very happy that the experiments that I tried in October worked as well as they did. I was not at all sure that they were going to, so that was kind of a nice feeling. And yeah, that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'm sorry it was kind of not in my normal style just because I'm trying to get everything done before I leave for my holidays. But if you guys have any comments or questions or ideas of things that you guys want to try in November, leave them down in the comment section, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!